Thank you for joining us. And I acknowledge that I'm speaking today from the traditional ancestral unceded territory of the Syilx Okanagan people. And I just want to thank my council colleague, Councillor Stack, for joining me in council chambers as well this afternoon. Thank you, Councillor. So the purpose of calling everyone together is I have some information today on our phased reopening plan for municipal properties, along with a few other updates that I wanted to pass along. Certainly, it was encouraging to hear from BC's medical health officer that the health crisis is reaching a point where we can consider opening facilities and other services to small groups practicing safe physical distancing. However, we still know we have a way to go before we can get through this, and having heard the direction of Premier Horgan and Dr. Bonnie Henry, we can now provide more information about our plans to reopen some civic properties to the public. Some of the direction is a little vague and relies on people using the common sense we've gained over the previous 2 months about caution and the need for continued physical distancing. There is no black and white direction about what's appropriate. A lot of it depends on your so-called bubble or circle of regular contacts. So city bylaw staff will continue to have conversations with people who gather together in public places to ensure they are being mindful of the risks to themselves and to others. Just a bit of statistical information. City staff responded to 368 calls between April 3rd and May 11th, and 4 of those calls have been referred to Interior Health for further investigation. Average daily calls have decreased to about 6 per day now from 15 before. Most of them about, of course, social distancing or inquiries about what is permitted and what isn't. We are as committed as ever to ensuring the health and safety of our employees, the public, our contractors, and business partners. We need to take this slowly and cautiously so that we don't lose the ground we've gained so far in this fight. We are planning for the reopening of services that support our local economy, consistent with the province's plan for British Columbia. Most city services have actually continued to be available virtually or by appointment throughout the shutdown period, and we will expand access to those services in ways that support business and community as soon as we can. As the Premier mentioned last week, we're already at the first phase of reopening. So unlike some jurisdictions, we did not close parks and other outdoor public places, thanks to the strong recommendations of Dr. Henry and the general compliance by our citizens in following those recommendations about physical distancing. We know that with proper planning and everyone doing their part, we can move forward, and we will. We also know that if we do not all come together and follow the advice of the provincial health officer, the strides forward we've made could be reversed, and nobody wants that. So we'll do this by encouraging safe practices are followed for all employees, contractors, and communities. Be up to date on the latest information about COVID-19 restrictions and recommendations, and ensure our business practices are consistent with the provincial health officer's orders in response to COVID-19. The city will update its approach as conditions, information, and practices continue to change and evolve so that the risks to our community are properly addressed. For now, some restrictions will remain in place for the safety of our community. As Premier Horgan said in his statement last week, it won't be the flipping of a switch. Shifting to the new normal will be bit by bit, one step at a time. We have a facility reopening framework that aligns with current provincial direction, and I'll explain some of that framework now. The reopening plan for May 15th includes outdoor recreation facilities open for casual use, including tennis courts, pickleball courts, the BMX track, skate parks, and the disc golf course. You will see signs posted at these facilities that encourage people to follow directions for safety and compliance with provincial health orders. What remains closed for the time being in this phase are playgrounds, indoor recreation facilities, aquatics facilities, arenas, and theaters. Now, recreation facilities such as Parkinson Rec Center could be opened progressively based on the recommendations from the province. Larger activity spaces could be used sooner than smaller spaces to ensure safe physical distancing can be maintained. Additional reopenings will occur in the near future so long as we can meet the provincial recommendations. These openings in the future will include facilities such as water parks, basketball courts, volleyball courts, ball diamonds, playgrounds, and limited use of our indoor recreation facilities in large spaces, as I mentioned. We are planning to offer summer programs and kids camps with modifications to ensure safe physical distancing is possible and proper hygiene protocols are in place in alignment with WorkSafe BC guidelines. In saying that, the COVID-19 pandemic and associated measures are frequently evolving, and information can change quickly, as we all know. We are prepared to respond accordingly if changes are needed to ensure the safety of our residents and reduce the risk of spreading the virus. We need to progress together slowly and safely. We continue to listen to local business about the best ways we can accommodate your needs through the coming months. In the weeks ahead, we're going to see more businesses reopening if they can comply with the health orders or recommendations for physical distancing and employee protection. Some of those businesses include the retail sector, hair salons, barbers, and other personal service establishments, in-person counseling services, restaurants, cafes and pubs, museums, art galleries, and libraries. It's encouraging to see many local initiatives reminding residents of the importance of supporting hometown businesses. Every little bit helps, and I call on everyone to support local businesses whenever they can so that our local economy comes through this in a strong position. The Regional Mayors and West Bank First Nation Chiefs Economic Recovery Task Force has developed its action plan and will hold our first monthly meeting next week. Some of the focus areas for the task force will include providing Central Okanagan communities a forum to identify economic recovery needs, positioning and advocating for anticipated stimulus program funding for the Central Okanagan businesses and their employees. At a political level, we'll communicate Central Okanagan needs with one voice to other levels of government and identify available areas for collaborative projects to support economic recovery. Just one final note and a bit of fun, a bit of a plug for my hair, and no, not that kind of hair plug, but a plug for some of the businesses that are preparing to reopen in phase 2 of the province's plan. You may have heard that last week my friends at Okanagan College Foundation challenged me to get involved in the Haircuts for Healthcare campaign, and I signed up, and I also challenged my friend and West Bank First Nation Chief Chris Derrickson to participate, and someone who was also in dire need of a haircut like myself. So Chief Derrickson and I are each aiming to raise $10,000 for Okanagan College's new Health Sciences Center in the next 2 weeks. And for those who are able, I recognize there are many good causes for people to support. And I felt the pandemic clearly illustrated the need to have more trained health workers, which this fundraiser will help accomplish. And it could also potentially support our local businesses. But that part is up to you, and here's how. If I raise the money before the salons open, I will hand the clippers to my wife, Leanne, so she can give me the kind of haircut she thinks I should have. If I raise the money after our salons are open, then I will still shave my head, but at least have the comfort of a professional being at the other end of the clippers. And so just one housekeeping item, we'll be issuing a news release about today's statement, and it will include the web address where people can make donations. And I think with that, I'll say thank you to everybody who's joined us, and we'll have a few minutes for questions. I'm also joined by the city manager, as well as our risk manager, Lance Kfish, and our director of active living and culture, Jim Gabriel. So.